Hello, students. Welcome to chapter 2 from week 1 for PSY 1010. In this chapter, we will talk about one of the greatest mainstream of the psychology in these days, also for the previous 1 century. At the beginning of the 20th century, especially after World War II, we are talking about the science of brain and the relationship between mind, brain, behavior, and other parts of your body. So let's start to share the PowerPoints. It's the chapter 2, neuroscience and behavior. And what is neuropsychology or biopsychologist? Who is a biopsychology or neuroscientist? Also, honestly, these are different. In details, these are different from each other, but the principles of investigation in both of them with other names also. Sometimes it is called neuropsychologist, neuroscientist, biopsychologist, biological psychologist. And they are scientists, psychologists who specializes in considering the ways in which the biological structure and functions of the body affect behavior. We are not talking only about the brain and nervous system. We are talking about the different organs of your body, including liver, kidney, stomach, oh, totally your digestive system, circulation system, and also other parts of your body, other organs of your body. Body as a whole, we should consider body as a holistic system, as a holistic approach, with a holistic approach, not only the details, not only the single organs, for example, only your kidney, only your brain, only your heart, only your lungs. These organs in nature work together. We consider them separately because we want to focus our investigation on the main parts of your body, on the specific parts of your body. But in nature, there is no separation. All the organs of your body work together to work as a totality, as a whole, which is called body. In this chapter, we consider in two parts. At first, we will study your brain and your nervous system before that. And second part, in the endocrine system, a lot of glands, which are very important in organizing different parts of your mind, different parts of your behavior together. Basically, the specific neurons of nervous system are called neurons, the basic elements of behavior. Nerve cells, the basic elements of the nervous system are neurons. And it has three parts: dendrites, axons, and the major body of your nervous system cell or neurons. But two other parts of dendrites and axon, a cluster of fibers at the end of neuron that receive message from other neurons. The major important concept in the studying of dendrites are receiving the message from other neurons. And other parts, we have many, pay attention, we have many dendrites for each single neuron, but only one axon. Axon, the part of the neuron that carries message destined from the destined for other neurons. Only one axon for one neuron. Many, many, many dendrites only for one. So we receive the messages from different parts of our body, only in one single neuron. But we design and we send our message in one neuron, only with one fiber, which is called axon. At the end of the axon, we have terminal bottoms. Terminal bottoms are the parts that one neuron will send, will transit, will transfer the message from one neuron to another neuron. Sometimes it is chemical for higher cortical brains like our brain. Sometimes they are electrical, for example, for uh, primitives and for the basic construction, for example, like in worms. In worms, you cannot find something like you can find in our body, in our mind, in our brain. You can find it only an electrical transition from one neuron to another neuron. But in human beings, we small blocks at the end of an axon that send message to other neurons. Axons, pay attention. Note that axons has myelin sheath. Myelin sheath is the same part which is very important in one of the, not hardest, but one of the uh, most difficult disorders and disease in human being, so-called MS, multiple sclerosis. It is the deficiency, it is the uh, degenerate of myelin sheath, a protective coat of fat and protein that wraps around the axon. We will talk about the function of myelin sheath. Myelin sheath make the transportation and transition of one neuron to other neuron faster and faster and faster. Why? Because fat is electricity resistant. Fat doesn't allow to electricity to pass. So it is something like jumping. Electricity is coming, reach the fat, jumping from the fat to other point, which is fat free. And again, other points. This jumping is the one of the first actions, first functions of myelin sheath. When this fat wrapping will disappear. It's very slow, rapid, slow speed. And for some reactions like vision, like motor movements, like auditory sensation, it's a catastrophe. Why? Because we need to receive the message from outside of our body and react in a proper situation, in a proper way. Study alert. We have some study alerts in this book. Remember that dendrites detect messages from other neurons. One, two, axons carry signals away from the cell body. And third, think of a neuron as a sausage and the myelin sheath at the case around it. It's just like something like sausage. And the myelin sheath is wrapped around the sausage. How neurons fire. You see a very good picture. Also, it is not natural picture, but it is a graphical picture from the neurons. You see here, it is cell body. Sometimes it is called soma. It is dendrite. You see many, many, many dendrites. All are these dendrites. This is axon. You see axon. And this is, on the blue is myelin sheath. Did you see some interrupted in myelin sheath? Jumping electricity from this point to this point to this point, because myelin sheath is built from fat and movement of electrical impulse, you see. And at the end of the myelin sheath and the end of the axon, you see terminal buttons, the primary components of a specialized cell called the neuron, the basic elements of nervous system. A neuron, like most types of cell in the body, has a cell body, which is called soma, and a nucleus. It is nucleus, the major part, the central part. But it also contains structures that carry messages. Why? Because the major function of nervous system, especially in central nervous system and also in peripheral nervous system, is about carrying the messages from our environment or inner part of our body to brain, to spinal cord, especially to brain, and very, very specific messages go to the higher cortical brain. Sometimes it's called brain cortex. And after that, analyzing, and after that, processing, and after that sending a comment from the brain, and go these messages just comment to the motor system, for example, your muscular system, which is the most important motor system of your body. The dendrites will receive message from other neurons and the axon, which carries message to other neuron or body cells. In this neuron, as in most neurons, the axon is protected by sausage-like myelin sheath. Number one, all or none law. Number one law of transporting and transition of messages in the neurons. The rule that neurons are either on or off. At one side, your neuron doesn't answer. No. If it answers, if it activates, it will be activated at the highest degree, at the highest rate. So-called all or none response, all or none reply, all or none law. And resting state, after going, after pumping some electricity, your neuron system, your neurons has a resting state. The state in which there is a negative electrical charge of negative 70 millivolts within a neuron. And after that, we have action potential. In resting system, there is no message. Your body, your neuron doesn't have any message because it is resting system. Your body, your nervous system is getting prepared for the action potential. And what is action potential? An electric nerve impulse that travels through a neuron's axon when it is set up by a trigger changing the neuron's charge from negative to positive. For example, this one. You see that naturally my hand, without any beating on it, is in resting state. No change. But when I do it, it's a stimulus. And action potential in the receptors on my hand and sending to spinal cord and going to brain and processing in a very, 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 very milliseconds. All are happening in milliseconds because if it is harmful, I should react for my survival. And after that, it's again some processing in other neurons, neuron to neuron, neuron to neuron, neuron to neuron, and going and sending to brain. And also brain has many, many, many neurons that work as centers. For example, center for audition, center for vision, center for movement, center for danger, center for smell, and center for thinking, center for music and other parts. And also they work together because it's a holistic system. Not, it's like an organization. Yes, different departments for knowing the specific responsibility for duty for every department. But finally, it's in one organization. The outcome is for organization. The outcome is for your brain. Why, when we start laughing, other people start laughing? Why? Why, when you come with your, for example, you are in a depressed mood and you enter a party, and after some minutes, after 1 hour, other people say, I don't know, what is not a good phase. I don't receive any good phase, any good why from you. Is there any scientific base for this phenomenon? Yes. This is called mirror neurons effect or mirror neurons phenomena. What does it mean? It means that specialized neurons that fire not only when a person enacts a particular behavior, but also whenever simply observe another individual carrying out the same behavior. It is mirroring effect. And it's approved scientifically by MRI, by fMRI. Why not? It is approved scientifically. It's very fantastic discovery, one of the greatest fantastic discoveries about the facts of brain, facts of nervous system. One of them is mirror neurons effect or mirroring effect. Movements of the action potential, we talk about it across the axon. Just before time one, this is time one, and this is the dendrite and the soma, the cell body, and action potential is here. You see, this is the part between the myelin sheath, time one, voltage, time two, voltage, time three, voltage, and positive change, negative change, director of impulse. Just before time one, positively charged ions enter the cell members and cell membrane, and changing the charge in the nearly part of the neuron from negative to positive. Very, very, very high rate, high degree of charging at the scale of millivolts. Everything is here at the scale of millivolts and milliseconds. The time is about milliseconds. The charge is about millivolt. And triggering an action potential. This is the trigger point. Before that, before reaching to the trigger point, there is no action potential. Because of that, it is called the law of all or none response. If the stimulus change the membrane to the same part, to the desired part, to the necessary part, necessary change of charging, if there or not. If it changes the myelin and the electricity ions in the axon reach the same part, okay, a trigger. Before that, there is no answer, there is no message, there are no triggering. Because of that, it is called law of all or none response. The action potential travels along the axon as illustrated in the change occurring from time one to time three, from top to the bottom in this drawing, for example, you can see. Immediately after the action potential has passed through a section of the axon, positive ions are pumped out, restoring the charge in it had section to negative. Where neurons connect at synapse, it is called a space so-called synapse. The space between two neurons where the action of the sending neuron communicates with the dendrites of receiving neuron with chemical message. In our body, in mammals, in all mammals, the synaptic connection is a chemical synaptic connection. But in the primitives, in the reptile, we have sometimes some electrical synapse. It is not inducive, inductive. It is direct connection between this axon and other dendrite connection. But in our body, there's a space here. It is called synaptic space. Okay? So synapse is the space which is shaped, which is formed for transporting the message from previous cell, presynaptic cell, axon to postsynaptic, after synapse cell or postsynaptic cell to dendrite. In this space, we have some chemicals that help this transportation. Where neurons connect, neurotransmitters are the same chemicals that we talk about, that they work in the space of between two neurons, presynaptic neurons and postsynaptic neurons. Dendrites of presynaptic neurons and axons of presynaptic neurons, and dendrites, many dendrites of postsynaptic neurons. Presynaptic neurons are the neurons who send the message, and postsynaptic neurons are the neurons who receive the message. On what is the this part, this chemical, it is called neurotransmitters. different neurotransmitters for different effect on the receiving cell, receiving neurons. For example, activating or restoration or prohibiting, we will talk about. The chemical messengers receive at dendrite or cell body of receiving neuron. Note that, please, many, what you call it mental disorders are related to neurotransmitters. Many of what you call mental disorders, mental illnesses, mental problems, chemically and biologically, they are related to disharmonization and imbalance between different neurotransmitters, or sometimes they are directly straight and directly related to chemicals, to neurotransmitter. We can find two effect on the next cell, on the next neurons, on the post synaptic neurons. One of them is excitatory message or excitatory effect, and the other one is inhibitory message or inhibitory effect. Excitatory message or excitatory effect, a chemical message that makes it more likely that receiving neuron will fire and action potential will travel down its axon, make it more likely receiving neuron will fire. Receiving neuron is post synaptic neuron, the neuron after the synapse. Okay, it has excitatory effect. It creates some types of fire, the message in the postsynaptic neuron. But in inhibitory message, in nature, it creates some types of inhibition for message in the postsynaptic neuron. It inhibits firing electricity, firing the message. It creates some long time for stop any types of fire, any types of message in the postsynaptic neuron, or a chemical message that prevents or decreases the likelihood that the receiving neuron will fire, make it less likely they will fire. One of the mechanisms that works here in the synaptic space between presynaptic neuron and postsynaptic neuron is reuptake. You can see this process in many medications, in many pills, in many drugs, in many treatment, biological treatment, for example, for depression. In one of the most famous pills, most famous medication for depression, one of the most famous antidepressant, especially in US, which is called Prozac and fluoxetine or Prozac, it works based on reuptaking. What does it mean, reuptake? Terminal buttons of sending neuron reabsorb neurotransmitter. It is presynaptic neuron, postsynaptic neuron, and between these, we have synaptic space. And neurotransmitter, for example, endorphin or serotonin, uptake here. And in this space, okay, it works and have some effect on the postsynaptic neuron. And what about this neurotransmitter? Reuptake to the basic neuron, reuptake to the presynaptic neuron. If it doesn't analyze, it doesn't calm down the rate and capacity of the, for example, serotonin doesn't come down, doesn't destroy or reuptake, it will have some repeated and hyperactivity in the next neuron, on the receiving neuron, on the postsynaptic neuron. So it is very important. Or destroy and damage the neurotransmitter, but it's very precious material for body. Very important. Not damaged so easily. And the wise mechanism, because you know your body has a wisdom for survival. It is not related to your wisdom. As a newborn, you have the wisdom of survival. It is not related to your mind, related to your brain, not related to your experience, daily life experiences. It is related to your body, as other mammals have the wisdom of survival. One of the wisdom of survival is reuptaking this very, very important material for your body, which is called neurotransmitter. This mechanism is called reuptaking. You see here, it is bottom, it is synapse, dendrite of the postsynaptic neurons, and axon of the presynaptic neurons. You see here many receptors on the axon. You see here neurotransmitter, which is shown in red, and coming and fitting with the receptors. In the larger scale, you can find it here, neurotransmitters, and the structure of receptors. When a neurotransmitter are produced and stored in the axon, it is the bottom of axon. If an action potential, which is a charging of electricity, arrive, the axon releases neurotransmitters, come here in the synaptic space. Fantastic. Neurotransmitter travel across the synapse to receptor sites on another neuron's dendrite. It is receptor site. You see the receptor site here, and neurotransmitter and synapse. And finally, when a neurotransmitter fits into a receptor site, it delivers an excitatory inhibitory message. Excitatory or inhibitory message for the postsynaptic neuron. If enough excitatory message are delivered, the neuron will fire. And on the other hand, if enough inhibitory message, the next neuron will have a long time for not any type of excitation, any type of receiving message, new messages, which your body needs sometimes. Neurotransmitter, what are the major neurotransmitters? Are acetylcholine, muscle movement, memory, cognitive functions. You can find the deficiency in acetylcholine in Parkinson. And dopamine is movement, attention, and learning. It's very important. Also, you can find it in sport, in depression, anxiety. And serotonin, sleeping, eating, mood, and pain. All types of mood disorders. One part is related to serotonin, and endorphin, pain suppression, pleasure, and appetite, especially in also depression, or also in physical activity like your exercise, physical exercise. You can see other parts: dopamine pathway, name, location, effect, and function. And serotonin pathway, for example, dopamine pathway, acetylcholine, and glutamate, and gamma aminobutyric acid, or GABA, which is very important in benzodiazepine drugs, for example, and diazepam and other PAMs, medication related to gamma aminobutyric acid, or GABA. And location, brain, spinal cord, and other parts, you can see it completely in your book. Here are two great heroes from America. One of them is Michael Fox, and the other one is Muhammad Ali Clay. Both of them have experienced the Parkinson. And in this picture, you see that Michael Fox, who suffered from Parkinson's disease, like Muhammad Ali, has become a strong advocate for research into disorder. The pair is seen here asking Congress for additional funds for Parkinson's research. Now we are entering the nervous system, two parts of nervous system. First part is central nervous system, including brain and spinal cord. And second part is peripheral nervous system, which is nervous system, all other parts of your body except of brain and spinal cord. The central nervous system, including your brain and spinal cord. What is a spinal cord? This is a spinal cord. From your brain, from the lowest part of your brain until the lower back with these branches. This is a spinal cord, and this is your brain. the major part of central nervous system. For example, the neurons or the nervous system on your hand, on your, for example, leg, on your heart, on your lung, on your digestive system. These are not nervous, central nervous system. All are peripheral nervous system. The nervous system, central nervous system only includes brain and spinal cord. A bundle of neurons that leaves the brain and runs down the length of the back and is the main means for transmitting message between the brain and other parts of the body. In this part, we have some messages which are very important for survival. You know them without learning. You know the reflexes without learning. Reflexes are the reactions, are the replies which are not learned during your life because they are born with you. Reflexes are very important for keeping your survival, for maintaining your survival. Because of that, it is called reflexes. And in psychology, we said that before reflexes, before on the reflective stage, you don't have any self, any ego. Only reflexes like other animals, like other mammals. Automatic response to stimulus. Some are controlled by the spinal cord. At the best scenario, some of your reflexes are controlled by your spinal cord. Other parts, they are out of the control. Not out of the control of your brain, out of the spinal cord, out of the control of your brain. You cannot control your reflexes consciously. It is totally unconsciously. Why? Because they are very important, more important than to think about consciously that should I have such a reflex or not. They are important for your survival. For example, grasping is a reflex, mother-born reflex. Watching is a mother-born reflex. Crying is a mother-born reflex. These are the mother-born reflex that you need to work with them to keep your survival. The peripheral nervous system, all parts of nervous system other than the brain and spinal cord. It has three major parts: sensory or afferent neurons, motor or efferent neurons, and interneurons system or interneurons neurons. Neurons that transmit information from the perimeter of the body to the central nervous system. It is sensory neuron or affect neurons. They receive the stimulus, the message, and transfer these information to your brain and spinal cord. And especially in the brain, we have many types of processing. And after detecting the messages and processing the messages, brain wants to send some commands to your body. It is called motor commands, or the neurons involved in this process are called motor neurons or efferent neurons. Some neurons that connect sensory and motor neurons carrying messages between the two are called interneurons neuron, or in short talking, it's called interneurons. The nervous system somatic division, voluntary movement and communication. We are talking about the different functions and different parts of your nervous system. Automatic division, involuntary function of the body that keeps you alive. For example, your digestive system is automatic division. Why? You cannot think about your stomach when you are asleep. You should not think because it's automatic. Your survival is related to your heart, to your lung, to your digestive system. So one of the greatest parts of your body, which nature, God, creator, anything you want to call it, has created in your body and also in other mammals for keeping and maintaining survival. And we know very, very clear path of evolutionary system, evolutionary approach to this system is called automatic system. It's very important, very vital, very crucial for your life, for the maintenance of your life, for your survival. It is called automatic system. And sympathetic division and Parasympathetic divisions are two major divisions of your nervous system. What is sympathetic division of your nervous system? Also, these are major part of them are in peripheral nervous system. Sympathetic system or sympathetic division of your nervous system is the part of the autonomic division of the nervous system. So it is not somatic, it is autonomic system that acts to prepare the body for action in stressful situations, engaging all organisms, resources to respond to a threat. Sympathetic system, sympathetic reactions put you, install you, keep you in a standby position. You are ready to fight, you are ready to flight, you are ready to pause, to freeze. For example, in fear, you have three major responses: fight, flight, or fear. These are the response to fear. All are under the control of sympathetic and also sometimes parasympathetic system. All are autonomic. They are not doing in a conscious level. All types are under control. At the best scenario, subconscious. Many times they are unconscious. Never, never, never they are conscious because the speed of the reaction is so high. You cannot think about that. For example, something is coming to your face. You should have some survival-based reaction without any thinking. Major parts are have reaction. Other parts is about going to a calm state and getting ready and prepared, getting prepared for the next action. And sometimes we need to have some types of relaxation in our body. The maintained standby system will frustrate your body, your mind. So the other system is parasympathetic system, the part of autonomic division of the nervous system that acts to calm the body after an emergency has ended. And behavioral genetics in other parts of science, interdisciplinary science, it is behavioral genetics that talks about these major field of behavior, your genetic system, and your nervous system, especially your nervous system. Not always about your nervous system, but the specific part, the major part of genetic behavioral genetics, as an interdisciplinary science, is about your nervous system, the study of the effects of heredity on behavior. You can see here the division of nervous system has two divisions: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. And central nervous system has two parts: brain and spinal cord. And your peripheral nervous system has two parts: somatic division for voluntary reactions and autonomic divisions for involuntary reactions. And autonomic division has again two parts: sympathetic division and parasympathetic division for calming and for creating speedy and rapid reactions in your body to the environment or to the inner parts of your body. So again, in this picture, you can see the major functions of the autonomic nervous system, only about the sympathetic and parasympathetic. In the right position, in the right part, in green color, you can see the functions of sympathetic in the eye, in the heart, in the liver, in the digestive system, and other parts, blood vessels. And also you can the different functions in the left part of the picture. In the blue part, you can see the functions of parasympathetic system. The next system, which is engaged in creating harmonization between different parts of your body, is endocrine system, a system of your glands, internal glands. They have some functions enter your body. You cannot see the activity of these types of glands outside of your body. They are endocrine system. chemical communication network that send messages throughout the body through hormones in the bloodstream. So we have two major chemicals in the body to creating some harmonization between different organs of your body. At first, from your central nervous system and also peripheral nervous system, we can find neurotransmitters. The second part, the second chemical is called hormones. Hormones is not related to your nervous system. The nervous system creates neurotransmitters. Your endocrine system creates hormones. So please note that hormones are not neurotransmitter. We can find many levels of similarities and also differences between neurotransmitters and hormones, but they are not the same. They are different. Hormones are different from the neurotransmitters. Hormones are the major part of endocrine system, because I think and I see sometimes in people that when they are talking about neurotransmitters, they think that they are talking about hormones. And sometimes when they are talking about the hormones, they say they are talking about their neurotransmitters. In general population, we can find some mistakes in different differences and especially similarities between the hormones and neurotransmitters, but scientifically, they are completely different. And hormones chemicals that circulate through the blood and regulate the function or growth of the body. Hormones, you can find your hormones in your blood system, but you can find your neurotransmitter in nervous system, not in your blood. It is not related to your blood. It's in the synaptic space. And one of the major glands, sometimes biologists and neurobiologists and sometimes neuropsychologists call it the sultans of the glands. Very small gland in your brain, which is called sultan of your gland because it moderates, control, and handle all other system and glands in your endocrine system. But very small gland in your brain. It is called pituitary gland, which the major component of the endocrine system, and or master gland or sultan of the gland, which secretes hormones that control growth, especially in adolescence, at the end of the childhood and beginning to adolescence. The major hormones for growing, like somatostatin, is secreted by pituitary gland and other parts of the endocrine system. So it is called master gland or sultan of glands. Again, we have a study alert. Please note that the endocrine system produces hormones, chemicals that circulate through the blood via the bloodstream. And the final part is about your brain. For studying your brain, we have imaging systems. The most important, not always imaging, but assessment system are four systems. Three of them are imaging system. One of them is about your wave of your brain, which is called EEG, electroencephalogram, EEG. Other one for imaging, one of the best imaging system for your brain is PET, position emission tomography, PET or PET scan, which is called PET scan, which is very famous. And one of the research-based, very famous, very applicable for research about the brain is fMRI, not MRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging. MRI is for acronym for magnetic resonance imaging is MRI, and functional fMRI is very important for research. And transcranial magnetic stimulus or TMS. Remember that EEG, fMRI, PET scan, and TMS differ in terms of whether they examine the brain structure or brain functioning. We have two types of studying about the brain, studying about the brain functioning and studying about brain structures. We can see here in a very short picture, left up is EEG, under that is fMRI scan, and this is TMS, and this is PET scan. A computer produce EEG image. Also, we can do it manually. And the fMRI scan uses a magnetic field to provide a detailed view of brain activity on a moment by moment basis. You know, if you have any electric instrument in your body, like battery for your heart, we cannot do any type of MRI. Why? Because the basis of MRI, as you see, M is for magnetic field. If you have any metal part in your body, for example, I said about your prosthesis in your body for surgery, and also some battery in your heart for regulating your heart activity, you cannot do anything MRI assessment. Regularly, the physicians, the expert in the field of MRI, ask you about these parts. But you know that they will forget to ask you about any types of metal or battery in your body, in your heart or other parts of your body, you should say them, because it is forbidden, as it's very high risky, very, very high risky to do something like MRI, going to a magnetic field, very, very strong magnetic field for MRI, when you have sometimes except your tooth. Tooth is not important because we have artificial tooth. It is not important. Other parts of your body. EEG records electrical activity in the brain through electrodes placed on the outside of the skull. It's the first assessment of the brain. EEG, very, very popular, very, very frequent in all studying about your brain. It's the basic assessment about your brain. And PET, positron emission tomography scans, show biochemical activity within the brain at a given moment. It's about the chemicals. Brain or fMRI scans provide a detailed three-dimensional computer-generated image of the brain structures and activity by aiming a powerful magnetic field at the body. fMRI, because of that, we call it fMRI. F is for functional. For example, we are working on the mathematical parts of brain. We say we ask some mathematical questions, equations uh, from our patient under the fMRI assessment, and we can see the bloodstream, the changing in the bloodstream in the brain, and see, yes, that part of brain is engaged, more engaged, not the specific part, more engaged, for example, in mathematical equation solving. So fMRI is a miracle in the assessment investigation about the brain functioning and also brain activity. And finally, TMS is one of the newest types of scan. It's a very, very high and very, very precious, very precious. By exposing a tiny region of the brain to strong magnetic field, TMS causes a momentary interruption of the electrical activity. Also, it is only for diagnosis the problems of the brain. You can see the picture of a real brain here, as also you can find it in your book. And the central part, the final part of this presentation, it is the central core or old brain. Controls basic functioning. It is hindbrain and midbrain. Two parts are old brain, hindbrain and midbrain. Hindbrain is the medulla, breathing, and heartbeat. All are about your autonomic system, autonomic functions, without any direct supervision, direct changing in the function. For example, you cannot have some direct changing in your heartbeat from your burning for coming toward until your death. Your heart will have regular beats. Also, sometimes in the at the end, the ending part of your life, some interruptions, not interruptions, some disharmonize in your heart beating. And Pons integrates movement between right and left side of the body, regulates sleep. Pons are very important. And cerebellum controls bodily balance, your movement. And midbrain into forebrain, reticular formulation, activate other parts of the brain to produce arousal. It is reticular activating system. You have heard it in many, for example, motivational speaking about, talking about ROS or RAS, reticular activating system, about your other types of consciousness, also sleeping, also arousal, and other parts. Everything related to consciousness is related to your reticular activating system in your midbrain. And thalamus relay station for sensory information. It is very, very important for our five senses. And hypothalamus, homeostasis and regular survival behavior. The limbic system is the system that you are working in your organization. It's the center of emotions, center of feelings, control a variety of basic functions relating to emotion, learning, memory, pleasure, and self-perseveration. Why we are talking these details with you as a student of management or leadership or business? Because the basic components of these data will help you to know about the major parts of producing some kinds of behavior in your organization, your employers, in your co-workers, in your family members. Now we have a very, very new branch of science, so-called, it is called neurobusiness, including neuroleadership, neuroethics, neuromarketing, talking about the different aspects of brain which involve in, for example, marketing and business and other parts. The major structure in the brain you can see here: hypothalamus, pituitary gland, pons, and spinal cord, medulla, and different parts. Okay, it's a very short introduction to the brain. Also, you should know about it more than these, and highly recommended to know about the basic and neurological aspects of the behavior, especially in social psychology, especially in protests, in organizations, in education. And thanks for giving your time to me to watch this video, and I hope to see you again for the next week. Bye.